Well, hey there, Diet Disruptors. Welcome to another episode of the Diet Disruptors podcast. And today's episode is actually very different than something we've ever done before. So we are in the middle of a series all about supplements. Now, when I say supplements, as you've learned, I really mean supplemental. When I teach my clients or when I teach health pros how to support their clients, we talk about what I call the 6 spinning plates. Nutrition, which is all around the concept of balancing our blood sugar through PFC3, protein, fat, and carb every 3 hours. Super simple, sustainable, and satisfying. That's the foundation. And then we've got movement, especially strength training. I will also say that walking, while a lot of people think that that's movement, I will call that something else. Hang on. But exercise is movement. That's the 2nd spinning plate. And then hydration, sleep, managing our stress, and supplementation. Now, most people out there in the nutrition world talk about supplementation as supplements. And yes, I call it supplements, vitamins, minerals, things like that. But really, what I mean is supplemental, the things that fill the gaps that the other 5 spinning plates can't do. Vitamins and minerals absolutely fit that bill, but so do, I would say, like saunaing, which is what we're going to talk about today. The sauna doesn't really fit into those 5 other plates. It's a supplemental, research-based, amazing, really supplemental practice that we should all be doing. So that's a great example of a supplement. And in so many ways, the different podcasts that I've been doing throughout this series, I hope is opening your eyes to the different ways that we can supplement the other pieces of our health. Being the healthiest version of ourselves. What do we do? What do we say? What do we think? What do we believe? It's not just about what you eat. It's not just about moving your body. So the other thing that I talk about with supplements, supplemental practices, is also walking. I put walking in the supplemental category because it doesn't take the place of strength training and HIIT and real true exercise, but it is absolutely a pivotal part of your health puzzle. So I actually put walking in the supplemental category. But anyway, that's another conversation for another time. Today's episode, I am doing something different. We had a guest in my private practice. I bring in a guest coach every single month. And a while back, I had a guest coach that talked all about the power of saunaing, the heat, all of that. And I thought, I don't usually bring my guest coaching sessions into my podcast, but in this case, I thought it was exactly what we needed because Dan Miller, who is an incredible health professional, he teaches all around how to truly be healthy from the inside out. This man is so knowledgeable. In fact, he and I just did a TEDx talk together in South Africa, and I was just blown away by what he teaches. He is an adventurer, and he is a researcher, and his knowledge about all things health is just amazing. And he did an entire guest coaching session with my clients in my private practice all around sauning. So I am bringing that episode, that coaching session to you in our podcast. So without further ado, I'm giving you a sneak peek behind the scenes to my private practice with how I run my guest coaching sessions. And Dan Miller, who is just an absolute genius when it comes to understanding our bodies and what it needs, you're going to be a fly on the wall for our coaching session that we did with my clients in my private practice. Dig in. I can't wait for you to learn more. Thank you, my friend, for being here.
Thank you.
We have a lot in common in terms of things that we teach. And then you go down and you teach a lot of times you really focus on men, professional men. A lot of us focus a lot more on women. But what we teach is still very, very similar. And we talk about our spinning plates. And you actually do very similar stuff with the guys that you work with. And one of the plates that I talk about are supplements. And when you and I were talking last time, you and I were talking a lot about heat and cold and how important they were. And I realized that fits in that plate of like supplementation, supplemental types of therapies and strategies and approaches. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
I love it. I'm excited.
Yeah. So you got my mind really thinking. I'm going to tell you some things that I've done since we talked last about all of this. And I might not be on the total right path, but I want you to know I'm thinking about it. You really started talking about heat, right? And how important it was. So can you just like get us into the mindset of what you teach your clients around kind of this concept?
Yeah, well, I'll go back a little bit. And I know we probably have a half an hour scheduled, but I can do this. This particular portion is one of my favorite things to talk about because it's a concept of how do we kill off the weak cells in the body. Mm-hmm. And the way this used to happen, because all of the things I teach my executive clients are all revolving around what used to happen and what would happen if I just put you back in nature. Because nature's got this 4 billion year track record of always being right. She doesn't do anything wrong. She's very efficient. You know, there's some immutable rules of nature. And one of those rules is if you're an animal living outside, you will never be comfortable all the time. It's just not how it is. I love that. Yeah. But what we've done, thanks to a large prefrontal cortex, an opposable thumb, in the ability to use tools, we've created an environment today in 2022 where Carrie's always comfortable.
Yeah, I hate being uncomfortable.
Right. Well,
my husband and I literally say that all the time. You know, when it's like that cold, annoying rain, we always are like, I hate being uncomfortable, especially then.
And this is how this has worked. You're programmed not to be uncomfortable. We are programmed to avoid pain. We're programmed to avoid discomfort because that means something's wrong, right? But that's not how nature works. Animals are uncomfortable all the time. There's always something that's causing them to be a little uncomfortable. Heat stress, food stress, cold stress. It's never 70 and comfortable outside. And what that means is the strong survive and the weak die because the weak can't handle that. Now, humans are a little bit different. We're still an animal and we were programmed to live in the exact same environment that the deer live, but we don't. We live in buildings all day. And what that means is
we're on Zoom. We live on Zoom all day.
Yeah, we're always in a cage, right? And what happens is we're never uncomfortable. And because we're never uncomfortable, the weak never die. Now, I'm not talking about your grandma who's weak, right? I'm talking about the cellular systems in the body that might be weak. We never put any pressure on the cellular systems. So what happens on the inside is the weak hang around longer than they should. And when we look at this, if we're looking at overall concepts to go study more about, this is called cellular senescence. These are cells that aren't dead yet.
I remember writing that down the last time we talked. Yep.
And it's fascinating. Well, what we didn't get into is that all of your cells will eventually die, except for some of your brain cells and some of your eyeball cells. Every other cell in your body will die and be replaced by something newer and something different. In your bones, that process takes 6 full years before you get all new bone cells. In your skin, that takes about 30 days. In your blood, it takes about 90. In your liver, it takes about 18 months. So we're a self-generating, self-replenishing machine made out of meat and water that knows exactly what to do. Your cells are pre-programmed to die on time. That pre-programmed cell death is usually called apoptosis. So cells will replicate 54 times and then die. That's the Hayflick limit if you don't want to get really scientific. Cells that stop replicating and don't die on time are called senescent cells. What they do as a backup mechanism to get cleared out of the way is they start secreting an inflammatory cytokine. Those inflammatory cytokines are designed to, it's basically chemical screaming. That's how I like to describe it. It'd be really loud if we could hear those. So if you think you're quiet, you're actually pretty loud at a chemical level. Those cells are trying to get the immune system's attention to come clear them out. Okay. So they're secreting these chemicals to do that. Well, what happens is if the immune system is overburdened and it can't get to them on time, that inflammatory cytokine starts agitating the cells around the weak one, And then those cells start secreting inflammatory cytokines, and it becomes an inflammatory cascade that runs system-wide.
Yep.
When we talk about cellular inflammation or systemic inflammation in humans, this is one of the root causes. It's not somebody punching you that's causing inflammation. Yeah. It's the fact that you're never putting pressure on those weak cells, and they're just bugging everyone around them, and it's causing a lot of problems.
Today's episode is brought to you by Zyve 7. It is time to awaken your digestion because your gut health relies on you. Everything is attached to our gut. And if our gut ain't happy, ain't nothing in our body happy. And if you are a woman who is also going through menopause, your gut health is more important than ever before. Zyve 7 is a finely tuned symphony of gut health for your daily ritual, blending nature's intelligence with scientific precision. And I have had the honor of being able to work on this product myself. So I know exactly where all the ingredients are sourced from and why the ingredients are that powerful. It is not only a digestive enzyme, but it also has protective probiotics, enzymes, prebiotics. It is your first step to improve your gut health, banish your bloating, smooth sailing every day with regularity, and stay consistent with your blood sugar levels. Go check out shopzyve.com now.
The big issue is now the immune system has to fight its way through all this noise to find out which ones are weak and try to clear them out. And if your immune system is so busy doing that, it might miss the virus that just got in.
Yep.
Or the bacteria that you got into your eyeball right here.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you get sick from that thing way worse than you should have because the weak were causing problems in your body. Mm-hmm. When we look at anti-aging, if wrinkles are important to you, if aging more gracefully is important, cellular senescence drives the aging process. Mm-hmm. And it turns out there's some things we can do to reduce senescence. Those things that we can do to reduce senescence used to happen not as a supplemental part of your life, but as part of living outside.
Yes.
And the one we'll talk to, one of the primary ones is stop eating so much. Mm-hmm. Right? That's one of the things that we used to do, put food pressure on the system and the weak die first. Mm-hmm. Happens with deer. We can see that if food pressure is on a deer population, the weak will die. The one I get excited about talking about is put heat pressure on the system and the weak die.
Yeah.
So when we look at how we do this, heat pressure on the system, what does that mean? And where does that have its ancestral roots? Well, that was called never being comfortable. Mm-hmm. You're always going to be sweating or shivering or sort of uncomfortable. And the days where you weren't, great, awesome, nice relaxing day. It's 70 degrees and sunny with a light breeze. That's fantastic. That was rare. Mm-hmm. Unless
when that happens more often than not, you don't even appreciate it as much.
Right, because it's always that way.
Always that way, yeah.
So when we look at what else happens if I were to heat you up, if I were to take Carrie and say, I'm going to drive your temperature 2 degrees warmer. Well, isn't that what a fever is? Right? Isn't that killing not only the weak in the body because they don't have compensatory mechanisms to deal with that heat, but doesn't that kill viruses and bacteria that shouldn't be in there?
That's why your body gets the fever, right?
Right. What if you could do that preemptively? What if you could do that intentionally?
We love being proactive.
Yeah. Well, so some of the benefits physiologically that we get from this, when I increase your core temperature by about 2 degrees, maybe 3 if you can tolerate that kind of heat, I not only get killing the weak, which we call ramping up cellular autophagy, but I also get killing the non-human invaders. And if I do this daily, I could kill non-human invaders before I even know I'm sick from them. Quite possibly. Can't promise it, but maybe, right? Before my Oura ring tells me that I'm sick with a fever, because I'm doing this preemptively daily, I might never have a fever because my body's always killing the weak because I'm giving myself a small fever every day. Mm-hmm. So that's just two of the things that happen. We also vasodilate. Our blood vessels get really big trying to cool off. Yeah. That's really cool to know. And then when we get out of the hot environment, they shrink back down. Yeah. If we do that every day, it's kind of like doing yoga for your vasculature. Flow, right? Yeah. Well, not only more blood flow, but vascular compliance. Yeah. If my blood vessels are used to flexing, less likelihood of me getting a stroke or a heart attack because they're bendy. Blood vessels that do yoga every day are bendier and more compliant, right? So we can see this is direct correlation. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The more bendy your blood vessels are, the less stroke and heart attack risk you have. There's really cool studies on that. Not only that, but that vasodilation means more nutrients to peripheral tissue, like the bottoms of your feet and that big, giant, beautiful sponge in your head that talks to you every day. That thing needs blood flow. And if I'm vasodilated, this thing gets more blood.
Exactly.
More blood flow, more nutrients. I'm going to burn some calories to cool off. So this is a calorie burn. It's called an exercise mimetic, meaning it mimics what exercise does in the body, burns calories, vasodilates, and those calories are usually from sugar. So it lowers glycemic load. We're going to keep going for a couple more. There's a lot of fun stuff here. One of the other things it does, and this is Dr. Charles Rasson at the University of Wisconsin, has shown that after a half an hour sauna session, a heat therapy session, you get an increased mood for 26 hours. Better mood, blood flow, better compliant blood vessels, less sugar, more calories being burned, less weak cells. Could there be any more benefit? Because there's a couple more. We also reduce inflammation in the healthy cells. Because let's face it, we have to realize we live in a self-healing machine, and our cells know what to do. Sometimes they're under pressure. They know how to compensate for that. Healthy cells create what's called heat shock proteins when they're under heat load to reduce the inflammatory response. If you go into a sauna for a half an hour and superheat yourself, you get that heat shock protein response for 22 hours after you're done.
Oh my gosh.
I get reduced inflammation the rest of the day. I get better blood flow. I get better compliance. I get all of these fun things. And let's stop and think, how do humans eliminate byproducts from the body? What are the top 3 ways that you can flush? I hate the word toxins. Let's call them toxins from metabolic waste. What are the top 3 ways? Name 1.
Pooping.
Yes. Name 2.
Peeing.
And name the 3rd one.
Breathing. No. Sweating. Well, that's where I thought you were going to go as like another one. So that's why I was like, huh. But yeah, got it.
So how many people listening don't like to sweat? What you're doing when you don't sweat is you're eliminating one of the 3 primary pathways your body has to get stuff out. And sadly, for most people, they don't realize that sweating is the number 1 way to get aluminum and mercury out of the body. It's the best heavy metal detox on the planet. You can go get IV chelation therapy at the doctor. That's pretty effective, but that's IVs and doctors. This is just you sweating.
Are there studies about people who live in hotter climates and the amount that they sweat compared to people who live in like colder climates? I think about the fact that I lived in Singapore for 7 years. Right? And I lived in Norway. And the difference in the weather was so incredible. And yes, I was uncomfortable in sweating, but I just like, there was a totally different level of energy that I had when I was there.
I bet you were leaner.
For sure.
To anyone listening, think about the animals in the jungle don't carry extra fat. They don't need to. So we're leaner when we're hotter more often. But here's the thing that I like to point out. If anyone wants to go do research on where Alzheimer's occurs.
Let's go.
It's not equatorial populations at all. It's northern climates. And maybe one of the reasons is sweating daily releases heavy metals. And a big cause of Alzheimer's, in addition to sugar, number 1 cause of Alzheimer's globally is sugar. A big cause of Alzheimer's is environmental toxins like aluminum and mercury. And the best way to get those out is to sweat. So not only are you're affecting Alzheimer's in 2 ways, you're affecting it through flushing sugar by trying to cool off, burning that fuel, lowering glycemic load, but you're also affecting it by getting rid of any heavy metal toxicity issues that may be present. It's a powerful chelator for heavy metals.
So the best way to get heat is sauna?
Well, so the best way to get heat is whatever you're going to choose to use daily. And I'll tell you, daily is the best medicine here, about 30 minutes. So some people have a hot tub at home. Why would you buy a sauna? You have a hot tub. Get in there and stop drinking in there. right? Turn that thing up to 105 and get in there and suffer for a little bit. You can have alcohol some other time. You shouldn't be using alcohol and heat together like that. It's a horrible idea.
Okay.
But most people I know that have a hot tub, they just want to grab a beer or a glass of wine, sit in the hot tub and do nothing.
Right.
That's great if the hot tub's at 94. You can do that sometimes. Mm-hmm. But this is what I'm talking about is let's go really uncomfortable and let's get in that hot tub and try to kill the weak.
For 30
That's my rule. Like when I'm in the sauna, it's not to relax. It's to destroy the weak cells that should have been dead yesterday anyway. And if I can do that every day, here's the rule. You should be extremely uncomfortable, yet still safe.
Okay.
Right? So keep a buddy around if you don't know what extremely uncomfortable and safe means at the same time. If you're in tune enough with your body, you're good. But it shouldn't be relaxing. It should be kind of dicey.
Yeah. And you're sweating. And you're
sweating a lot. Mm-hmm. My best advice, if people don't know, well, I don't know if I'm getting hot enough. Well, get an in-ear thermometer. They cost $35. Measure your baseline, your regular temperature, because everyone thinks it's 98.6, but it's not. I run a full degree cooler. Yeah, mine's a degree lower. Yeah. So measure your base rate and then go in, get a sauna or a hot tub or a steam room or infrared sauna, or stop turning the air conditioning on when you exercise. Make a room in your house where you're exercising without air conditioning, or put an extra heater in there. Or go do a hot yoga class.
That was what I would tell you. That's what I started doing after you and I talked. I am now signed up for hot yoga. And I am like, oh my gosh. Like, first of all, it's hard and I'm sweating. And I am like, like when you do a good strength workout, you don't think about things. Yes. Yoga, sometimes I still think. My mind wanders. My mind is not wandering in the hot yoga.
Right. It's a meditative session that's forced on you because it's dicey in there, right? Mm-hmm. But your muscles are more bendy when they're hot. Which is really cool to know. The warmer your muscles, the more bendy they are. That's really fun, right? That's why you warm up before you exercise, is to make sure you don't tear one of them.
Yep.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter how we get hot. The physiology isn't going to change. Now, my favorite ways to get hot is infrared sauna, because I can get deeper wave penetration into my body. So it's a deeper detox, if you will. Again, I don't like that word, but that's the best way to describe it. But I get the same thing from swinging my kettlebells outside in the summer.
Okay.
Like it's the same physiological experience, vasodilation, burning calories, sweating profusely. It's the same physiology. It's just happening from different outside triggers.
Yeah, it's funny. When I lived in Mexico a few years ago, I did CrossFit and I used to get so like, I hate doing CrossFit there because it's so hot. But actually, that was the best thing for me. I was working out and sweating like a storm. Now, the CrossFit was super dirty, so that was the other part about it. But I found myself wanting to go do the workout in the nice, clean gym that had the air conditioning.
Yeah.
So you're making me think like so differently.
Your drive is be comfortable.
Yeah, it really is.
Sometimes, you guys, this is hard. It's simple to understand, but it's hard to execute because it goes against your programming.
Yeah.
But if I shoved you outside and made you go find your food, you got to do it. You're going to sweat every day because that's what living outside means. Because that's what you were programmed to live. You accept that. Yeah, this sucks, but I got to do it or I don't eat today.
But what you just did is you explained the why behind it. So now, because we know why it's so important, we can handle being uncomfortable. If there's not a big why behind doing anything, we don't stick with any of it, right?
Right. And I'll tell you this. If you want to be successful at this, I want you to realize something. Your life is easy. Easy. If you're listening to me talk, let's face it, you have an easy life. If you have a phone and a car, you're in the top 2% of the richest people in the world with just a phone and a car. Yeah. And I would guess that everyone listening has a phone and a car.
Yeah. They're my paying members, right? Yeah. So
you guys are doing great. If you don't choose hard, intentionally, on purpose, on occasion, the week get longer time in your body to cause problems. So because you have an easy life, we have to choose hard intentionally so that the rest of our life stays easy. Otherwise, it starts to suck year after year. We get sicker and sicker and weaker. We have to choose hard. Yeah. Now, if we lived outside, it would be part of living outside, but we don't. So the way, and Carrie, you guys everyone that's listening is already doing this. The way we become more successful at doing things that suck is to do them together as part of a tribe like we used to.
Yep.
So if you have to choose sauna and you don't like to sweat, go get a 2-person sauna and go in with your partner and hang out in there. It's date night every night. We sweat for half an hour together. That's what we do because we built it into our lifestyle because it's important to get rid of heavy metals and to burn calories and do all of that fun stuff.
And we prioritize what's important. We always do. And the other thing that you're making me think about is the difference between toxic stress and productive stress, right? Toxic stress in our body, where we are like the diet mindset, right? Putting our body at a deficit all the time. Just there's a whole lot of things, trauma in our lives that are massively, they can negatively impact our body. And this is the same thing I say about my kids or working out, all of that. That is productive stress. That is stress that makes us stronger and better. And that's what this is. And there's a fine line sometimes, but at the end of the day, if we're not doing the hard things, we're never going to A, appreciate the comfortable, but B, we're not going to be able to get stronger because that's what it takes. Lifting heavy weights, quote unquote.
Yeah. Pick up heavy stuff, run fast.
Yeah.
That's how we get better. And I'm glad you mentioned the difference between those two stresses because I'll tell you the hard line that differentiates them. Are you ready? Because a lot of people don't think about this. The hard line that differentiates those is choice.
Yeah, say more.
Because if I'm stressed out about money, I feel like I'm not choosing. But if I'm stressing my body by picking up weights, well, then I'm the one controlling the dose. It's choice.
Yeah.
You choose to work out. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's my choice.
Yeah. And
if I choose, this is a lesson I teach the kids all the time. If you choose the dose, then you control the pain. And if you do that regularly enough, you'll never have to endure the suffering.
Yeah.
If you never choose hard and you never choose some temporary pain to induce the growth, well, then that suffering is going to come your way one way or another.
One way or the other. Yeah, you're totally right. So, one of my clients the other day said when she got done with our 4 weeks to wellness, that's sort of like our initial kind of phase into a new lifestyle. She said, I knew that then I could, you said like food is not good or bad. Food serves our body or food serves our soul. So I could choose whatever I wanted. And every other diet I've ever been told me, eat this, not this. This is bad. This is good. And she said, for the first time, I got to choose. And I didn't want the other stuff, but because I was told I couldn't have it before, I wanted it. So I think that that's a really good metaphor that or a good lesson that you're reminding us of and why it's so powerful in so many aspects of our life. So here's the thing though, you talked about the infrared sauna. Do you own an infrared sauna? Yeah.
Yes. And we use the steam sauna and the dry sauna at the gym. So I do all kinds of ways to heat this thing up. It's one of my favorite things to do because it feels good when you're done. Yeah, it's hard when you're doing it, but man, it feels good when you're done. Before I mention where a good place to get that sauna is and whose name to mention to get just a smoke and deal on these things, and they're all American made from a friend of mine. But I got to tell you about a 21-year study done in Europe on this. Okay. Published in the most mainstream medical journal on the planet back in 2015. So in 2015, the Journal of American Medical Association published a sauna study from Dr. Laukkanen in Finland. Okay. This was a 21-year-long observational study on patients who saunaed. 21 years in the making, you guys. This is hard data. This was done in 2,315 patients, age 46 to 71. That many people did sauna for that long? Well, it's Finland. Yeah, that's true. Sauna there. So it's true. Yeah. So Dr. Laukkanen thought, I wonder if this is real. I'm seeing a reduction in cardiovascular disease in my patients who say they sauna. So he set up a study to observe patients for 21 years to see if that was real. Okay, he was only looking at that cardiovascular data, and his findings were published in the most mainstream medical journal on the planet. He lumped his patients into 3 categories: those who didn't sauna, those who saunaed about 3 times a week for a half an hour, and those who saunaed every day for about a half an hour. At the end of 21 years, he found some pretty fascinating things. His patients who saunaed 3 times a week versus those who didn't sauna at all had a 30% reduction in cardiovascular death.
Wow.
Number one killer in the country, reduced by a third.
Wow.
He saw in his patients who sauna daily, he showed a 50% reduction in cardiovascular death versus those who didn't sauna. Now, keep in mind, those who sauna regularly ate better, exercised more, and didn't smoke as often. Right. So these numbers were adjusted downward to control for those lifestyle factors. But that's not all he found. And this is the most fascinating thing. He found some other stuff. When he looked at all-cause mortality, any reason you've died at all, in a 21-year time span, those who saunaed 3 times a week showed a 20% reduction in death from anything. And those who saunaed daily showed a 40% reduction in death from anything, including cancers and strokes.
Well, doesn't that make sense with everything that you were sharing about all the benefits of it? You have to see that level.
One would surmise it would be completely impossible not to. Here's the most surprising numbers. In those who saunaed 3 times a week versus those who didn't, there was a 40% reduction in Alzheimer's. And in those who saunaed every day, there was a 65% reduction in the occurrence of Alzheimer's.
You know, that's one of my biggest fears because my grandmother died of Alzheimer's and I keep saying to my husband, get ready. I'm doing everything I can, but I realize I'm not doing everything I can.
Look, sauna is one of the most magical, mystical things on the planet. There's a cold curve as well. We could talk about why cryotherapy is popping up everywhere and how.
Yes, my niece swears by it.
It's the same thing. Put pressure on the system and the weak die. That's amazing to me because then that's
what's that balance? So, or the difference? Why would you choose one over the other?
Yeah. So, well, which one would you rather choose? Would you?
I'd rather have hot.
Yeah, same. Most people I talk to are the same way. On occasion, choose cold. Go to the cryotherapy clinic 4 times a month if you can. Or on occasion, take a ridiculously freezing cold shower.
Yes, we've talked about that.
Response. Yeah. It's the same thing.
I'll do a hot shower and then I'll go right down to cold.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. It works wonders. One of the best ways to wake up in the morning is how do I get more adrenaline in a natural way? Not being scared awake by my alarm, but how do I get more adrenaline? And taking a freezing cold shower in the morning within that first hour is a great way to jack your adrenaline up and get moving faster.
Yeah.
You combine that with some direct sunlight, some red light from the sun, and you're going to have a better morning.
Yeah,
so I look at the Laukkanen study and I look at the other sauna studies and I say, look, if I'm seeing 65% reduction in Alzheimer's and my mother died at 74, the last 9 years of her life, she didn't recognize her family. So at 65, she was gone. Mm-hmm. She just lived another 9 years in another dimension because of Alzheimer's. Well, if 65% reduction of Alzheimer's happens in an observational study, what's the worst thing that could do if I go do it? What's the worst side effect I could ever feel from getting in the sauna or the hot tub? And it turns out if you go digging, it's watch your heart rate. Things are going to get weird in there. That's the worst thing that can happen to you is some sort of a cardiovascular event, most likely because you violated that and safe rule.
Okay, right? So say more. What do you mean by cardiovascular event?
Well, so if somebody has a weird heart palpitation now, sauna is probably not the best idea until they talk to their doctor because it is going to increase your heart rate trying to cool you off. If somebody is pregnant, sauna is a huge no-no. Absolutely, positively not. You've already got another human inside of you. You don't want to heat both of you up. Mm-hmm. So, but that's it. Other than that, if you've got a healthy heart, we should all be doing this every day. And if you want to see how this works outside, just go live outside for a week. You're going to sweat every day. That's how it works out there. Or you're going to freeze every day.
Yeah.
That's how that works. We're never 70 and soft.
Unless
and that's our problem.
Unless you're in San Diego.
Or Santa Barbara, right? You just open your windows and it's 60 at night and 70 during the day. It's perfect.
The majority of us are not there.
Right. So those of you that are there, stay there. I'm coming over.
Well, you're in Minnesota, so you're on that side of it.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I'm heat adapted. I love the heat, so I sauna sometimes twice a day. Most of the time when I'm home, I sauna twice a day. Once in the morning to wake up, where you can meditate in the sauna, get that heat. It's a great way to wake up. And then once immediately after the workout. And immediately after the workout is important because I want to maintain vasodilation while I'm resting. Mm-hmm. That means I get more nutrients to my tired muscles that way. So that's when, you take some of the other supplements, the protein powder, maybe the CBD, you throw that in while you're in a sauna. great way to relax and get extra nutrients into the body while your blood vessels are still big.
Yeah, doing a protein shake like that while you're in the sauna, like after a workout, that's a really good idea. And that's why, like, it's funny because so many gyms have saunas, right? So many of you could probably be doing this. I work out at home, and now I've been doing hot yoga. So now I feel like I need to get a sauna at my house.
And you do. And look, I'll tell you, they're $5,000 on average, and they last for 20 years. Okay. So let's cost justify that.
Yeah.
5,000 over 20 years is nothing. And they might get you another 20 years of life anyway. You might live longer because of this. You might. I can't never guarantee anything like that, but it's not going to hurt, which is what I like. I always look at things that have huge benefit and go, well, is there any harm?
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly not with this.
Yeah. So, and this is like, why do we have like any financial means, to me, is to continue to live our purpose. And we cannot live our purpose if we are not living our best lives. And I say this all the time about the best return on investment is in ourselves in one way or another. You know, and it kills me because these studies are out there, but yet our doctors will not tell us about these studies more often than not, because the people going in and actually updating them on the latest studies are often the pharmaceutical companies telling them the studies about the drugs that are out there versus the studies of like sauna.
Yeah. And, you know, Carrie, I don't know if you remember this, but I spent almost a decade with GlaxoSmithKline Pharma. So I was part of that problem. And I'll tell you, it's not that the doctors don't want to know this information. It's just they don't have time to go look.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do. I have time to go look. And the reason I'm not teaching doctors this is because there's no billion-dollar industry to fund it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So there's no billion-dollar sauna conglomerate in Congress to make sure this is talked about. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
So my rule is this: ask yourself, can I do this in nature? It's always better if we can do it in nature. Well, if I take my kettlebells outside in the summer, that's the largest infrared sauna in the world. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the best thing for me, right? 10 to 20 minutes of direct sun when I'm sweating, lifting something heavy, amazing. If I can't do that, then I need to mimic that experience in my cage.
Yep.
And my friends in Kansas City at Sunlight and Saunas make some of the world's best saunas, and they've been doing it for a long time. They are amazing. Okay. When you call them, because to order one of their saunas, you have to call them.
Okay.
You tell them you know Dan Miller, and they treat you very well.
Oh, I love that.
So Connie and her husband are amazing people, and I love the operation they're running in Kansas City. And if you have any of your people listening in Kansas City, just go request a tour. They love to show off their facility. It's incredible.
Yeah, so I'll have you get me that info, and I'll share that with people. That'll be great. This has to be like our gift to ourselves. I got to tell Peter.
Yeah, well, that's the way I look at it. It's $5,000. It's not. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It might be for some, and I get that. I'm not coming from a place of privilege. I dropped out of college to support my homeless mother and didn't have a car for over a year to do it. So I get what it's like to struggle. Mm-hmm. If you're in Carrie's paid program, you're probably not struggling. Mm-hmm. Not like that. It's time to have a family discussion about how can we do better for the family. Mm-hmm. Because if you're operating at full potential, then everyone wins. Yeah. And if that means putting a sauna in the house, then let's go. To me, it's a no-brainer.
Well, we prioritize what's most important. And especially when we understand the why behind it, this isn't about some being more comfortable. It's not about just some privileged kind of a thing to be able to just have a sauna in your house like somebody has a wine cellar in their home.
Right.
Totally different type of a privilege there.
Yeah, completely. This is about putting pressure on the weak, because if you don't do it, who's gonna?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way that works. Yeah. And nature's got it figured out, but we've removed ourselves from her care. And now we're trying to take care of ourselves. And I'll tell you, the lessons are the same. Mm-hmm. It's a rule. If you're comfortable every day, you're going to die early. That's just the way it is.
Oh my God.
Some pressure has to be put on the weak.
If you're comfortable every day, you're going to die early. This is so, so good. I love it. I mean, we often talk about the discipline of declining when people come to us and they just aren't used to saying no to themselves and eat what they want when they want to. And it's hard to have that discipline, but the more you have it, the easier it is. And then you got to go find more things to do that are hard at the end of the day. Yep. And keep pushing ourselves. Dan, this was so helpful. Every time I talk to you, I learned so much. So I'm so appreciative of this and our friendship and our partnership. If you guys want to connect with Dan, I'll send you his link so you can kind of learn more about who he is and what he does. And I think we should all go out. Like, if you go out and get a sauna, you guys got to post them and share.
Yeah,
and let us know.
Thank you. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Awesome, Dan. You're the best. Thank you.
I appreciate it.